Hello everyone, Happy New Year, and welcome to our New Year's Day special. So, we'll be looking at the weather that's taking place right now, as well as the weather expected over the next 10 months from the CFS run from Midnights. It's just, just for fun, so please don't take it seriously. We'll just go through it, see what's up, and of course, I wish everyone a happy and healthy 2023. I know that some people that I know quite a lot actually have not had the best 2022. A lot of people have lost loved ones, have been through crises themselves in their own health and things like that. So I hope that all cuts out this year and we will have a lovely year. So starting off at windy.com, we can see we have some showers across the southeast of the country, some low clouds into Northern Ireland and into the Midlands, clear skies in the west of the country, but into the west coast you got some showers coming in. Looking at the radar, you can see nicely light showers in the west, quite heavy showers in the southeast. And if I put the 12-hour radar map on, you can see this little yellowish brown line here. You can see I just right here into the Celtic Sea, St George's Channel, into Wales. This is where last night we saw a line of storms come through, so you can see this nicely. I'll just go back, wait to the start. Started around here, this sort of region, and moved in. You can see lightning strikes coming out of it. There. Lots of it coming out there, right there about 5 a.m. Moving up here, there's a bit of a burst here. I think that gave some lightning around my area. And then as we go through, that very, very heavy cell produced more lightning. That's gone into Wales this morning, and we go on, and that cleared off, and we got more showers coming in this afternoon. So, as I said, we have been exceptionally thundery since mid-October, and it's all because of these cooler air masses over the still hot seas, these very warm seas left over from the summer. So, here's the CFS run. We can see this starting today at 7 a.m. New Year's Day. Yeah, it's a Sunday, 1st of January now, and going through. It's just for fun. It's for a laugh. Just don't take it seriously, and just we'll see what it has to say. So going through then, we can see low pressure coming in off the Atlantic for the first part of January. And as we go on, you can see that this. I've been talking about this for quite a while now. This low pressure plunging out of Greenland with this cold air around it. That is held off by the CFS run by a high pressure to our south, and we'll just keep it mild with a southwesterly wind instead of a northwesterly wind. Going on into the middle of January, we see a long fetch southwesterly winds. That is brought by the high pressure over Europe and low pressure over Greenland and the Arctic. And going through, we pretty much stay that way throughout January. Very mild, maybe a bit of frost there as it's over us. That high pressure, and on we go. We get a bit of a southeasterly flow there as the high pressure just tries to get a bit further northwards. But that doesn't last. We eventually get low pressure back off the Atlantic, wet, windy, very mild again as the high pressure tries to come back up from the south, dragging the wind up from past the Azores, off the chart even, and then we stay like that for the rest of January. Go on into the 25th, further low pressure in off the Atlantic, wet, windy, stormy, very mild, and now we're at the very end of January, and we're pulling up a mild southerly winds. Now, so that is an absolutely appalling and hopeless January for anyone who wants snow. Just miserable. Anyway, we're coming into February now, and watch to our east. we have a bit of high pressure coming in from Siberia into Scandinavia. And what happens as we go into the first few days of February? That high pressure tries to block off the Atlantic. But you see here, this polar vortex around Greenland is too deep. The Atlantic is still powerful, really, really strong. So we try to get the wind into the east. And you see a nice cold pool coming out of Russia into Europe. We get in to some degree, but the low pressure is fighting against it, putting lows in. For England, I say this is probably a very snowy situation. Lots of snow for them, but I feel like we're on the mild side of the low, so we end up with rain, wind, stormy weather. Bit colder there around the not of February. Could be a little snow with that, and then we keep going on. Low pressure in off the Atlantic, high pressure around the Azores. Bit of cold zonality there, bringing the wind from Greenland, so probably some wintry showers. And then we keep going on, very, very stormy, very, very wet, westerly. Very much like last February, actually. Around this sort of time, we got a power up of the PV, and we went very, very westerly, very, very stormy. And then we keep going, and high pressure comes up from the south to the Azores, but low pressure is too strong. It kills it off. Not kills it, just sort of like shoves it down, more or less. Then more low pressure in off the Atlantic. We stay quite chill. That's a bit chillier there. Bit of a it's quite slack, so it's not very westerly. It's if anything, a bit northeasterly there, northerly, so a bit cooler there as we go into March, into spring. High pressure around Europe. We pull up a southeasterly wind for the first few days of March. That was a bit spring-like before more low pressure, stormy weather comes in. Look at that big area of low pressure over us around the 5th and 6th of March. On the northern side of that low, there will be snow. But of course, that won't verify. It's the 6th of March. We go through and we go coals. Just like that. We stay mild in the winter, January and February. But as we get into March, we see high pressure around Iceland and Greenland. Low pressure over France. And guess what? An easterly wind comes in. And it goes into a northerly wind. Snow showers probably. Wintry showers, snow. More cold weather coming in there in mid-March. And then we go milder, wetter, windier. That low pressure right over us. We go colder there again on the 18th of March. Easterly winds. Snow with that probably. More easterly winds going on into the 22nd of March and into the end of March. We stay that way. Easterly winds, probably quite very cold, snow showers, frost. Then we go very cold under that area of high pressure towards the end of March. Very frosty with that, bringing a cold easterly wind into the south there. More snow for the south. And then we end March going milder, wetter and windier with high pressure back over Spain, bringing up a very mild southwesterly winds. Just typical. We spend, I'm just thinking this, January and February mild, and March goes cold. Winter goes mild, spring goes cold. Wow, typical. Anyway, then we go into April, nice and spring-like, high pressure from the Azores, but that doesn't last long. Low pressure comes from the north and turns the wind into the northwest. Cold. We go stormy there on the 6th of April, and cold. Look at that northerly blasts. What's happening? Why couldn't this happen in the winter? Then we stay cold and unsettled there into the middle of April. We keep low pressure in off the Atlantic. Look at that low pressure there, right over us. Then we get easterly winds. But by now it's not that cold because we're it's coming from the southeast more or less, and it's also April, so the cold air is dying out gradually. Then then that goes away, and high pressure goes over the country, so that should be spring-like warm days but quite chilly nights. Then the high pressure goes to Iceland by April 21st. We get a northerly shot again. Then we get more northerly shots into the end of April. Look at that low pressure right over us. That could even be wintry at that stage. Overnight on hills. That's just cold. This spring has similarities to spring 2021, where it was just a very, very cold spring 2021. April and May especially. We're going into May now, and we go very zonal. Low over Scotland, high over Spain, westerly winds, quite cool. High pressure over us then by the 9th of May. Then we go through and low pressure comes down. We get another northerly shot in mid-May. Wow. Why couldn't this happen in the winter? More low pressure over us. Easterly winds. If that happened in the winter, we'd be buried in snow. More low pressure coming in. That's quite mild now. That's to our north, but look at that. That goes to our east. We pull in another northerly. That's actually an awful spring for anyone who likes warm weather. We stay northerly then into the end of May. Low pressure in off the Atlantic. Northerly winds there. Northwesterly, northeasterly, just cool. Then we go to June. Summer starts. Not looking good. Low pressure to our west. Or over us, just cool, rain showers, northern blocking, easterly winds. That's a bit better, but still quite cool. Low pressure right over the country there. We go into the middle of June. Low pressure is filling. Get a bit of a raise in pressure, but look at that, more low pressure in off the Atlantic. It goes a bit warmer actually. High pressure over Europe, bringing up a southwesterly winds. Will this turn nice in the end? More low pressure into the end of June, coming in from the northwest. We get a northerly there at the end of June, well, around the solstice. Then we go towards the end of June and we bring high pressure up from the south into July. That looks good. We get high pressure from the south into the Atlantic now. That doesn't look too good. We bring in a northwesterly winds. But then the high pressure comes over the country, and we go warmer and drier. But then low pressure comes in from the Atlantic in mid-July, turns us wet, windy, autumnal, northerly winds, middle of July. Just great. We keep low pressure in off the Atlantic into towards the end of July now, and we keep low pressure in off the Atlantic. We had that brief warm spell, but now that's gone. Quite unsettled and cool now. Going into the end of July, we stay unsettled. Actually, now high pressure as we go to August is trying to come up from the south. It makes a bit of influence. It influences the south a bit, but not so much the north. And then we go through into the middle of August. We get quite a warm spell there as the high pressure goes to Scandinavia and pulls in a southeasterly wind, but that breaks down. And we get more low pressure in off the Atlantic. And high pressure tries to come back for the end of August, but doesn't come too much. Low pressure in off the Atlantic. Just not too great. And now we're to September. That was a bad summer for anyone who likes heat. So what way we have? A mild winter and a cool summer. No thank you. Coming up into September now. Oh, what's happening? We get a southeasterly wind, giving us warm air and high pressure right over us. Why couldn't that have happened over the past 3 months, eh? Why not? That just happens in September. And then we have... there we go, unsettled, into the end of September. That's autumnal for you, and very, very wet and windy. As we go through into October then, we stay wet and windy in miles. Off we go into the middle of October, wet, windy, miles, stormy, quite cool there. It was mid-month. As we go through into the end of October, we bring low pressure in off the Atlantic, and it just goes very autumnal, should I say? And then that's it done then. So we looked over 10 months through January to October. Happy New Year, and bye for now. Hope you enjoyed it.